Call DT and on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt as Mike Sofka and I get ready to bring you Week 5 inside of the NFL for the 2021-2022 fantasy football season. Let's bring in the man of the hour inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Your perfect place to watch all of the games and to go 7 days a week, as well as to order takeout and delivery by calling 315-487-2222. Mr. Sofka, how are we doing?
I'm doing awesome. How are you, Dan?
Doing very well, sir. So happy to have you here. Happy to have you back on the broadcast. Appreciate your patience here as we had a little game day experience conversation. And now it's time to get into game day coming up here. We got Thursday night football as well as Sunday night, and Monday night football. Getting you ready on a Wednesday so that you have plenty of time to get all the information that you need when it comes to Thursday as well as your Sunday and Monday games. So with that being said, Mike, let's jump right into it. Our first game up here on the docket. And for those of you on YouTube as well as on Facebook, if you have a question, and on MixLR, you could send those questions to us, so make sure you do that. youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. You can link up with us here and send us your fantasy football questions in the live chat room. You can also send them to Facebook questions to us, so make sure you do that. youtube.com/ talking with us in our live chat room, and of course the live chat of mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. So with all that being said, Mike, the Rams at the Seahawks, what do you got?
Yeah, I like the Rams. They look like they're dominating. Matt Stafford's playing really well. But to go into Seattle and go against Russell Wilson is something else, though. That's his home kitchen. So I'm looking at this game and breaking it down fantasy-wise. Of course, Matt Stafford's a guy you got to start. He's number 8 this week. Russell Wilson's right there with him at number 9 on the rankings. And then I go a little further on into the looks to be fully back. We'll see that this Sunday then. He's going up against that Seattle defense that can give up some rushing yards. So I got Darrell Henderson ranked at 10. And on the other side of the ball, you got Chris Carson. Chris Carson's having a pretty good year. He's injury-free so far on the rankings this week. And it for Kupp. This guy has the largest target share. I mean, he has like a 37% target share on his team there. So this is something we haven't seen from him. We knew he was a good receiver, but he's the primary guy. Matt Stafford, obviously akin to him. So Cooper Kupp, number 1 on the wide receiver rankings this week. DK Metcalf, number 5. Tyler Lockett, number 9. So there's a lot of fantasy points to be had in this game here, all the way around until you get to tight end. Then it gets a little Tyler Higbee's the one. And for Seattle, you got to go a little further down for maybe a Disley to step up here, but I wouldn't count on that at all. I like this game. I'm excited to see this game on Thursday. Great Thursday matchup. I'm looking for the Rams to pull this one away in Seattle, even though it's going to be tough.
Yeah, the Rams have done a lot of good, right? And they've put themselves in a situation where you have to focus on them. If you're a football fan, you got to pay attention to what the Rams are currently doing right now. I said going into the season that arguably we were going to see Matt Stafford have his best maybe 2 years of his career. That he was setting himself up by coming to this team, that things were going to, really just look good for him because he's been on a Detroit Lions team where he's been talented, they have struggled, and it affects him. It makes him look not that great. And now being with the Rams and having Cooper Kupp as well as Robert Woods, and, he's got a stable of running backs, and granted they have to stay healthy and figure things out, but this is a good Rams team. They're 3-1. They lost to the Cardinals 37-20, and they lost that game at home. So that's a tough break for the Los Angeles Rams inside of this NFC West division. But they're playing up against a Seahawks team that also brings a lot to the table. This team is 2-2. It's funny how it's split almost 50-50 on what people think are going to happen in this game as far as who's going to win this game. Mike chose the Rams, and I'm also going to go with the Rams in this matchup. I feel like the Rams are going to do enough to get the job done. And, you know, to me, I enjoy the fact that this division, which I said last year, was going to be good. You know, I said you got to watch out for the Seahawks. And then, you know, I mean, obviously the Niners have fallen down a bit here. And I said those Arizona Cardinals might be a little sneaky pick to get into the playoffs, and they almost did. They were right there at the door of the playoffs to try and squeak in. And so I think with what Arizona was able to do to the Rams this past week shows you where this division's at. It's only going to get more interesting as the Seahawks will host the Rams this week. And taking a look at who you should be playing in this game, I like Matt Stafford in the matchup. He's one of those guys that was probably not drafted or drafted as a backup in some of my leagues. You know, I think some people, you know, went after him, but definitely not to be a starter. I don't think he's the best out there, but he definitely is going to put up some offensive points for you, and he's going to move the ball. So I like Matt Stafford in the game. Darrell Henderson, if he's able to play, I like him in the matchup as well as a running back too. Sony Michel, I'm not really sold on. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, I like them both. Van Jefferson's done some good things, but with a healthy Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, which God willing they stay that way, those guys look to be the ones that are going to get the majority of the opportunities. Keep in mind, Deshaun Jackson is actually on this team as well. He's still in the NFL. He's still playing 2 stints with the Eagles. He's been all over the place, been with the Bucks. And Deshaun Jackson is there, but really the value is Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. I don't have to tell you that, but I will. Tyler Higbee is limited in practice with an ankle injury. Just monitor that. He is a tight end 2 in this. I would say he's a low end 1 in this game, typically a tight end 2. And then on the other side, you got to play in this matchup with the Seahawks. You definitely have to play Russell Wilson. Again, something I don't have to tell you. But I would say, you know, obviously Russell Wilson in this matchup, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. If DK is able to go, his foot injury has left him questionable. But if him and Lockett are able to go, you play them both. Chris Carson, another guy on the injury report with a neck injury, didn't practice early on in this week. Watch that. Alex Collins, who made some hay with the Ravens in recent history, is right behind him. So Alex Collins could be a late pickup for you as a sleeper pick if Chris Carson's unable to go. But if Carson is, then I have him as a running back too. Not really sold on the tight ends on either one of these teams, but Gerald Everett and Tyler Higbee that used to share space with the Rams are now playing against each other, as Everett is the leader for Seattle in the tight end room and Higbee is the leader with the Rams. So kind of an interesting storyline there, as 2 guys that were sharing space are now the starters on their respective teams as they face off in this divisional matchup with the NFC West. I'm going once again with the Rams in this game. I think that's going to happen. So now we got a question, Mike. Do you think the great people of London, England, want the Falcons versus the Jets or the Jacksonville Jaguars game? What would you say?
Hey, we won the war over 200 years ago. We dictate who comes over there.
True. Very true. Very, very true. So, in the Jacksonville Jaguars, nobody has gone over there more. And, you know, if Urban Meyer's going to make the trip, let's just make sure he makes the plane. Because Lord knows we don't want him dancing around with any of those girls that Austin Powers was hanging out with in some of those movies. So, with that being said, let's head to the next game. The Jets at the Falcons at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. This game is that early on Sunday. Make sure you set your dial and make sure you make your picks early, remembering the fact that this game is going to be in London, you bloke. So the Jets at the Falcons, Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, I think if this game wasn't at 9:30, I wouldn't be watching it. But, you know, it is what it is. It's the only thing on at 9:30 on Sunday, so I'm going to watch it. You know, I like some aspects of this game, let me get into it here. It's definitely not the quarterbacks. The quarterback situation is a little bit, you know, abysmal here. Matt Ryan checking in at 19 on the rankings this week, and Zach Wilson at 29. Although Zach Wilson is benefiting from, you know, Jamison Crowder showing back up from injury. Going over to the running back, the surprise guy here, Cordero Patterson. You know, he's basically usurped Mike Davis here in the backfield. So this is a guy who in Yahoo is still eligible as a wide receiver and as a running back. And he had some availability still before waivers ran last night. So looking at the the running back on the other side of the ball, but it's a committee still. Tevin Coleman's back again. Michael Carter's not getting the full share, but he's getting the lion's share of things. He's the highest ranking running back on their team. I got him ranked at number 34 this week. And then looking at the receivers, this is where things start to get a little bit ugly, except for Calvin Ridley, number 10 on the rankings here. But then I got to scroll way down. I mean, I got to go down 37 to find the Jets' number 1 receiver, Corey Davis, and then Jamison Crowder, as I spoke of before. He's at 45 this week, but I look for him to be up a little higher in the next coming weeks here as he works his way back. The tight end situation, there's really nothing there that I can do anything with except for Kyle Pitts. But Kyle Pitts hasn't really lived up to everybody's expectations, but again, he's a rookie. Stay patient. He's still in the top 10, and he's still in the top 10 this week on my rankings, number 6 overall. Excuse me, not overall, number 6 on the tight end ranking, I should say. I'm looking at this game from, who do I think is going to win standpoint. I think the Falcons are going to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets won. I think the Jets have a little bit better of a defense, believe it or not. So I think the Jets are capable of winning, but I'm.
Yeah, so you're going to go. So what did you say about you cut out for a sec?
I'm going to take the Falcons.
Falcons. All right. So the Falcons being chosen here in Mike's pick. And as these two teams play up against each other, the very interesting game here, the Jets at the Falcons in England. So it's nobody's home game, but technically, somebody has to give up a home game in order for this thing to happen. So I'm gonna say, well, I'll give you my pick in a second. So I'm gonna give you my pick as we go through this because these teams are ugly. The Jets won their game last week with that field goal, and I think the Jets are going to win 2 games in a row because they're playing the Falcons. And, Zach Wilson, obviously not where you want to go. But what did I tell you? I watched the guy in college. My buddy DeAndre Smith was his coach when nobody knew who he was nationally. And when he was the running backs coach in North Carolina, he was training Michael Carter, and people did not know Michael Carter. Now, Syracuse fans knew Michael Carter-Williams from basketball, but they did not know Michael Carter around the country. Now they do know who Michael Carter is, and they knew who he was as he continued to elevate himself in the backfield of the Carolina Tar Heels, where both him and Javonte Williams had over 1,000 yards rushing last season, even though they were sharing the backfield. I told you this guy would be the starter on the Jets. We're 5 weeks in, and here he is on the depth chart. He is worth the play in this game. Corey Davis, Jamison Crowder, they are worth flex positions for you, in my opinion. I have a good feeling about Crowder returning something in this game, and Corey Davis is like a wide receiver 3. Matty Ryan, I keep wondering when is it going to be the time to say that it's probably over. Well, this is kind of the swan song for him and for Ben Roethlisberger at this point. Cordero Patterson, he's been all over the place. He's been with the Vikings. He's been with the Patriots. He's with the Falcons and whatnot. I'm not sold on what he's doing. Mike Davis has been underwhelming. Calvin Ridley having to do this without Julio Jones has not been the same, as I told you it probably wasn't going to be. But Calvin Ridley, a wide receiver too. Kyle Pitts, worth the play out there. If you got 2 tight ends, definitely. If not, he's a low-end 1. Calvin Ridley, a wide receiver 2. Not sold on Russell Gage in the way he's been right now. He's injured. Olamide Zaccheaus coming from Virginia, where I told you, I believe, last week, that I covered him there. Olamide may get some opportunities in this, but I would say Ridley and Pitts are your best bets for the Falcons. I'm going to go with the Jets to win 2 in a row, and it's only because they're playing the Falcons. So that's where I'm at with this one. So Mike is going with the Falcons, and I am going with the Jets. We got 2 questions that have come in, Mr. Sofka. First one we will go to is on our Facebook feed. Actually, we have a few here on our Facebook feed. So need an RB2, Carson or Hubbard for full PPR. So first question that came in here is on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT. We'll get to our questions on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT in just a moment because this one came in first on Facebook. Running back 2 in full PPR, Chris Carson or Chuba Hubbard?
Well, I have Chris Carson ranked 15 this week. I have Chuba Hubbard ranked 22. So obviously I like Chris Carson a little better there.
Yeah, I'm going to say Carson if he's healthy, obviously. So Carson from both Mike and I. But, it depends on how well he is. I think at full go, Hubbard and Carson in a full PPR, you go Carson. But let's make sure that he's full go and that he's okay. Next one that we got up here is Latavius Murray, Zach Moss, or Javonte Williams in the flex half PPR league.
I think I got Zach Moss 27, Latavius Murray 30, and Javonte Williams 37. So surprisingly, Zach Moss ahead of those guys.
Yeah, before you came out with those rankings just now, Mike, I was going to say Zach Moss would be the best bet. Javonte Williams, I like him carrying the ball, but in a half PPR situation, I would look to Zach Moss and above Latavius Murray. Need 2, Allen Robinson, Devontae Smith, Corey Davis, or Tim Patrick. 2 out of those, what do we say?
Repeat those again?
Needing 2 in a full PPR, and that is Allen Robinson, Devontae Smith, Corey Davis, Tim Patrick.
All right, let me see here. I'm writing them down. When you start throwing 4 names, that sort of clouds me a little bit. And I don't know if this is a good situation or a bad situation for this owner. I wonder who his wide receivers are. But Allen Robinson's been a guy that has really shown up all last year. Even though there was a turnstile at the quarterback position. Allen Robinson, I got 28 this week. Devontae Smith, I got at 32. And, wow, I can't read my own writing. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you for the last 2 again. Davis? Is that
Corey Davis and Tim Patrick.
Yeah, Corey Davis is a little ways down on the list, and so is Tim Patrick. So I think I would definitely go with Allen Robinson.
So in needing 2, so you would say Robinson and Smith?
And Smith, yeah.
Okay. So Mike saying for the need 2 in a full PPR, for your question, Greg, Mike says to go Allen Robinson as well as Devontae Smith. I'm going to say, let me take a look at this for a second here. So Devontae Smith is going to be playing Carolina, and Allen Robinson is going to be playing Vegas, and then we have Tim Patrick playing Pittsburgh, and then we have Corey Davis playing in the Atlanta game. I'm going to, these are all kind of better situation. Corey Davis got it, not a bad situation. I'm going to say Robinson just because he can play with any quarterback, as I said before. But I'm also going to say Tim Patrick. I picked Tim Patrick up. And so I told people about Tim Patrick earlier on in the season here. And I said, listen, he's a guy that really came through when when Cortland Sutton went down and Jerry Jeudy and whatnot. So to have this team need the assistance, this is a guy that had some action last week, so I like it. I'm going to say Tim Patrick with Allen Robinson because I think he's going to catch a lot of balls. And, Pittsburgh's not really playing that well and not really scaring anybody, so I'm going to say that. We have a question that came in from Black T here, and that is asking us if Christian McCaffrey is definitely going to play and Gronk. Christian McCaffrey has a hamstring injury. He is currently listed as questionable, to answer your question, Black T. And Tampa, we have for Rob Gronkowski, he is currently listed as doubtful for the game with a rib injury. So to answer your question, I would say, I would say, this is something you have to monitor, but Gronk looking like no. And McCaffrey, they see, they kind of.
He's not going to play. He's not going to play.
Yeah, they've kind of tried to sneak him in, where you thought he wasn't going to play. So CMC, I would say, just monitor. We'll monitor that one, but I would say probably this. Obviously, Gronk, stay away from CMC. Monitor that, but just be prepared for that.
Gronk will be out 3 to 5 weeks, so it's four fractured ribs and a punctured lung. I know he's tough, but you don't get over that stuff like that.
And we got another question that came in here from Josh, who has sent us a bunch of stuff over the past few weeks. Josh, we appreciate it. Josh said, start one flex PPR. Damian Williams, Tyler Lockett, Chris Carson, A.J. Brown if healthy, Robert Woods, T. Higgins. Also, would you start any of these over Henderson in his RB2 spot? So the question once again, Mike.
Just in your lineup, Josh. We'll set the whole thing.
So, flex PPR. Damian Williams, Tyler Lockett, Chris Carson, A.J. Brown, Robert Woods, T. Higgins. He can only start one of them.
Yeah, I'm not counting on A.J. Brown. Robert Woods hasn't really shown up yet. T. Higgins, anytime you're considering starting a tight end over a running back in a flex position, it better be Kyle Pitts or better. Lockett's the guy that sounds like a humble brag because I got Lockett at 9. So if you can't fit him elsewhere, you may go Lockett here, but I would go with the running back, Damian Williams.
Yeah, so Tyler Lockett, you said Damian Williams. Would we start any of the running backs over Darrell Henderson in the RB2 spot of Damian Williams and Chris Carson?
Nope.
Okay, so we would say Tyler Lockett. Mike's going to give a little bit more of a nod.
But if that means he's not playing Darrell Henderson, then that puts Darrell Henderson in the flex. So that's why I said just send your whole lineup. We'll do everything for you. And when the money comes in at the end of the year, just remember who set your lineup.
Yeah, so Mike liking Damian Williams there. We both liking Tyler Lockett at this, and I, just monitor what's going on with Chris Carson. Darrell Henderson, I feel okay about, but I'd put Carson above him in my opinion. Ricardo wants to know, do I trade Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs for Diggs in Montgomery? Wait, I'm confused here. Do I trade Thielen and Diggs for Diggs in Montgomery, half PPR, Thielen on my bench? Okay, Rick, just be a little more clear about this. You have Thielen and Diggs, and who are you looking to pick up? And then Black T said, can I drop Deshaun Jackson and Jefferson? And I want to see if you're saying Van Jefferson and not Justin Jefferson, Black T. If it's Van Jefferson, then let's look at this. Can I drop Deshaun Jackson and Jefferson and put Ruggs and Edwards from the Raiders? I think Carr will go for long passes and some chances, but Stafford too. So it is Van Jefferson. Okay. So he's asking, does he drop Deshaun Jackson and Van Jefferson to pick up Henry Ruggs and Edwards from the Raiders?
Yeah, you got to watch what you're doing here when you're picking up 2 guys from one team for 2 guys for another team, because even the NFL executives, you can go back in history, the number 1 and number 2 picks, one of them is going to be wrong. They're at 50%. So what you're doing to yourself is you're guaranteeing yourself almost one of those guys is going to hit, but you're also guaranteeing yourself that you're clogging up a bench spot. So just be careful with that. I don't know if I would drop both for both, if that makes any sense. I like Ruggs. I think he has tremendous upside. Deshaun Jackson's going to be spotty. He showed us a lot of speed last week and showed us that even as an old man, he can get past people. Van Jefferson has a lot of upside, but there's a lot of competition for the ball. When Cooper Kupp's getting 37%, and I like Edwards. I like where Edwards has come from. I think he's done himself well this year, but I got to question whether he's peaked or not. So I think the safest bet, the thing that I would do, is I would make sure that I had Van Jefferson and Henry Ruggs.
Yeah, so I think Ruggs is going to break out at some point, and so I would say drop Deshaun and pick up Ruggs, but we told you last week Edwards is a guy to look at. Van Jefferson is somebody that I think, if it was me right now in this moment, in this exact moment, I would drop Deshaun Jackson, pick up one of the Raiders guys, and keep Van Jefferson on my team. Mike, is that fair to say, to drop Deshaun, pick up Ruggs, and keep Jefferson?
Yeah, until I see more from Deshaun, because basically it was one big play. It was encouraging. It shows there's opportunity there, and I'm sure Matt Stafford's not going to forget that. But, right now I just haven't seen enough. So somebody's got a gun to my head. Yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, fair enough here. And then we have another question that came in from Greg. Greg said, start one flex PPR. Devontae Smith, Damian Williams, Jalen Waddle, Jamison Crowder, or Brandon Ayuk. Once again, start one guy at flex PPR. Devontae, you said Damian Williams. Okay.
Yeah, you have to. And that's probably going to be something that you could stick with for at least the next 3 weeks.
Okay, so Mike is saying Damian Williams at this for the flex PPR. And looking at these, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Jamison Crowder, Brandon Ayuk. I would... See, for me, Damian Williams, as far as statistically right now, to take a look at him, where I'm at with this is I want to say somebody else, but just to take a look at, Damian Williams, the Chicago Bears running back, where he's at currently, to take a look at his numbers. He had, as far as receiving wise, he had 4 catches against the Rams, 2 against Cincinnati, and 2 against Detroit. If it was up to me, I would say, I want to look at your list again. Mike says Damian Williams, and this is for Greg. Greg C. Let's see here. You have Devontae Smith, Damian Williams, Jalen Waddle, Jamison Crowder, Brandon Ayuk. I'm going to say Devontae Smith in this situation. Mike's going to go Damian Williams. I'm going to go Devontae Smith. And then we have Rick got back to us and said Thielen and Keenan. So he said, do I trade Thielen and Keenan for Diggs in Montgomery? Half PPR.
No.
So Mike says no whatsoever. So I know that, I think the thing that's enticing here, Mike, for him is that, and Rick, I don't want to speak for you here, but I think for me what would be enticing is that you get Diggs, but trading Thielen.
Is he talking about the Montgomery that's hurt? Is he talking David Montgomery? Is that who he's talking about? I mean,
yeah, Rick, are you asking about David Montgomery? Is the question here? Are you asking if you should trade for Diggs and David Montgomery, who's currently
I know it's
injured?
Not Ty Montgomery. I hope not. I mean, I need information.
Yeah, so he said he's talking about David Montgomery.
Yeah, I know. David Montgomery's hurt. He's going to be out 3 to 5 weeks. Why would you trade for a hurt player? Ever.
So, yeah, Rick, keep what you have. So we're going to say, from the both of us, keep what you have. And then I want to make sure we didn't miss anything else here. Stafford, Darnold, Tannehill, or Mac Jones. Rank them for the rest of the season is what we've been asked here. Stafford, Darnold, Tannehill, Jones. I mean, it's early on in the season. I'm not going to say I'm going to rank them for the rest of the year. I can rank them for this point, Mike. I'll start it. If I'm going to rank them in this moment right now, I would say Stafford, Darnold, Tannehill, Jones in that order. Oh, you said Daniel Jones? Yeah, it stays the same for me. I thought it was Mac Jones. But yeah, I'm going to say Stafford, Darnold, Tannehill, Daniel Jones in my opinion. Mike, what would you say?
Well, it's Stafford. That's the only guy you got to worry about. Stafford, and then you got Darnold after that, and then Jones, then Tannehill, because Tannehill doesn't have A.J. Brown. He doesn't have Julio Jones. Who knows how long that fiasco is going to last. So definitely Stafford.
Yeah, so I mean, Stafford and Darnold obviously are in a good footing right now. So Mike says Stafford, Darnold at this moment, and then he has Daniel Jones and Ryan Tannehill. I think if I took it as I'm just doing this in and of itself, as far as the talent that I'm seeing right now. So I'm saying, regardless of injury in this moment, if I'm just talking about talent, I'm saying Stafford, Darnold, and then I'm saying Tannehill, or pardon me, yes, I'm saying Tannehill, and then I'm saying Daniel Jones. So that's how I would look at it, is if that's how I go. So I would say Stafford, Darnold, Tannehill, then Daniel Jones if it's strictly talent. We're going to go on to another thing here, another game in just a second. Last question that we got. Should I do that same trade but with Henderson instead of David Montgomery? So Rick is saying, what if the trade was, let me go back to your trade here. What if the trade was Adam Thielen and Keenan Allen that he gives up to bring in Stephon Diggs and Darrell Henderson?
Who's his other running backs?
Yeah, who else do you have? That's first question on my mind too. Is if you're going to give up two receivers, who are the running backs that you have? So let us know, Rick, as we go to the next game, like Green Bay, Cincinnati. In Cincinnati, what do you got?
Yeah, I like Green Bay. I like the fire I see in Aaron Rodgers' eyes right now. But Joe Burrow's been making, almost single-handedly taking that team, because it hasn't been Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon hasn't been getting it done like everybody expected him to get it done anyway. But I got Aaron Rodgers ranked number 15 this week, and I got Joe Burrow ranked number 21. And going down a little further on the running back situation, this is where you're going to find most of the value for, Aaron Jones. I don't know if I can go Joe Mixon. I don't know if he's going to make the game. So it might be a Samaje Perine. That might be your hidden gem. I got him ranked at 32 this week. So I'm not trying to start him as an RB, but he may be that sneaky, cheap, affordable guy you can get in DFS. And of course, Devontae Adams is always near the top of the pile. He's ranked number 3 this week. Jamar Chase, number 18 on the rankings. And then Tyler Boyd, number 30. T. Higgins is still coming off injury. He's a little further down. He's in the 60s on the ranking here. I can't start any other Green Bay wide receiver. Robert Tonyan's been a disappointment to say the least, but he's still ranked number 12 this week. And on the other side of the ball, you go with CJ Uzomah. That's an affordable option. He's out there on a lot of waiver wires, but he's ranked number 24 this week on my rankings. I would definitely say Green Bay is going to go into Cincinnati and win this game.
Yeah, this is to me, Cincinnati. Joe Burrow's shown me some stuff here. This man has learned a thing or two, and has put himself in a good space right now as he moves forward in the NFL, only in his second year. And basically, he played like a half a year last year, so still kind of finishing off a full year. Aaron Rodgers, I'll start on the away side. Aaron Rodgers is worth the play. Aaron Jones, of course. A.J. Dillon, a flex guy. We're looking at an expanded role for him. I think he's somebody that I went and picked up. I had an injury, and so I went and found that A.J. Dillon was left out there by somebody who might have dropped him. And so to me, A.J. Dillon is worth a flex for you in like a running back 4 position here. And then Devontae Adams, obviously worth the play. Robert Tonyan in this matchup, he was quiet. He's been quiet recently. I'd say he's a tight end 2. I do think he might get some plug here, but I would look to Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, and a sleeper kind of at A.J. Dillon with this as far as who Aaron Rodgers will be going to. Joe Burrow on the other side, I like him in this game. I think this game could get up in the 30s. He's going to have to throw the ball, so I do like him as a QB1 in this matchup. Not as high as Aaron Rodgers, but I do like him in this. Ankle injury with Joe Mixon has left him questionable. If he's good to go, you put him out there. T. Higgins is questionable with a shoulder injury. If he's good to go, he's a wide receiver, I would say 3 this week. Jamar Chase bumps up to a wide receiver 2. And then C.J. Uzomah, he obviously liked him in that game against Jacksonville, so I think that makes him a tight end 1 in this as we move forward here. But temper your expectations. Let's see if this can be consistent. C.J.'s been on the team for a little bit. They did give him a contract extension, but I want to see him do more with what he has out here. Packers at Bengals. Mike picked the Packers in this one. And I am going to also pick the Packers in this matchup as well. I think that Jacksonville should have won that game against Cincinnati. So some things here that we had to look at and some things that Jacksonville has to look at. So Rick got back to us. Should he trade Keenan Allen and Adam Thielen for Stephon Diggs and Darrell Henderson? His other running backs are Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Swift, and Antonio Gibson.
No, there's no need to do that. There's no need to do that. A lot of people, and people that follow my systems know I don't trade a lot. I don't poo-poo trades. I'm willing to trade anytime, any player and all that stuff. But I'm also solid in my drafting. I draft a certain way, so I don't have to trade, barring catastrophic injuries or something stupid happening on the field or something to somebody off the field. It's almost like, would I rather be out of the frying pan and into the fire, or just stay in the cast iron skillet that's 400 degrees? So sometimes you could put yourself out of contention. With the running backs you have, there's no reason to trade for Henderson in a deal. I know you want Stephon Diggs. Everybody wanted Stephon Diggs. Obviously, you're not going to get Stephon Diggs unless you give up a lot of stuff. So I would stick with Thielen and Allen. I mean, those are two wide receiver ones practically every week. And I know Stephon Diggs is up there, but with the running backs you have, I mean, it could be 6,500 the others. So just be careful with that stuff. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, and we got another one coming in here, and we'll wait Black T to give us the information here. Want to see what he has here. So I think what he's asking is he's giving up Logan Thomas to get Chris Claypool, asking if that's a good trade. He already has Dawson Knox. Chase Claypool. So he would be trading Logan Thomas, getting Chase Claypool, and he already has Dawson Knox.
Yeah, right now Dawson Knox and Logan Thomas are about a coin flip. So, if you're getting two players back, you're probably going to have to drop somebody. So that would be a question. Who are you going to drop? I mean, I always put myself in a position where I know the one guy I would get rid of from every team that I have. But I'm not excited to get rid of those guys because, again, I'm confident that I've kept up. I'm confident in my draft strategy, and I'm confident that I've watched the waiver wire effectively. I never put myself in a position where I have to trade. Trading is a luxury. It's not like a meal of the day where you have to do it. You have to eat, because if you don't eat, that's it. No, it's not that way. That's a luxury. That's that extra dessert. That's getting the bonus car wash instead of the regular car wash. You know what I mean? So I would tend to stick where I'm at. Logan Thomas is hurt right now, though, so that might be the situation that you're trying to resolve. But sometimes it's hard to trade a player that's hurt. I don't know if the other owner knows that this guy's hurt yet or not. But if they were both healthy, I would stay with Logan Thomas. But being Logan Thomas is dinged up a bit, and being he didn't receive a target last week, I might consider going with Dawson Knox till he plays for Buffalo. And Josh Allen's throwing the ball like a crazy man right now.
Yeah, so, I mean, Dawson Knox obviously has done some things to impress this season. Definitely impressed me scoring in the first couple weeks here. So I do like Dawson Knox. So I don't think it's a bad trade. It just depends on what your receiver pool looks like. So thank you for the question, though. As questions continue to come in, you can send your questions to mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, the live internet radio feed. You can also send it to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt by clicking on the video itself and chatting in our chat room. And, of course, you can click on the video on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt and chat in our chat room here. With that being said, so before Mike and I take a step aside, we'll get to a few more games here and get to your questions. We're inside of the Wildcat Sports Pub's Fantasy Football Power Hour. It's powered by the Wildcat, where you can watch all the games on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, 7 days a week. Watch your baseball playoffs as well as your NFL games and so much more coming up. College football, Syracuse, and of course you can do takeout and delivery by calling 315-487-2222, and for catering, 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat. Josh, question coming in. Pick up Mike Gesicki or Dalton Schultz for my injured Logan Thomas and Gronk. Not rush on this question. So thoughts on this? Black T, thank you for sending that you got our information here. We appreciate it. Happy to help. Josh said, should he pick up Mike Gesicki or Dalton Schultz to try to remedy his Logan Thomas, Rob Gronkowski thing? I'm not for giving up Rob Gronkowski. I know Logan I kind of go back and forth on, but do you have another tight end, Josh? I guess is my question here, but I would definitely not get rid of Gronk. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, same. I'd take a Gesicki, but I don't. I mean, I hope you have IR, can put one of these guys on a bench, maybe have enough room. I mean, I like both those guys, but Gesicki's going to be up there near tight end 1 every week. Right now, this week he's number 8 on my tight end ranking.
Yeah, so I mean, Mike Gesicki, not a bad bet. Don't give up Gronk, is what we would say, and.
Well, I wouldn't give up Logan Thomas either.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So I mean, if you're in a position where you're stuck, I get it. It is what it is. So double check the injury report on Logan Thomas. He's obviously still dinged up. I think Gronk's going to be out 3 to 5 weeks.
Yeah, but if you don't have a tight end, I guess I would say, if you have another tight end, keep them both. If you don't have any help right now, then I would say Mike Gesicki is your best bet. If you Gesicki to pick up, if you have to have a tight end right now, is what I would say at this point. So Gronk is staying. Thomas is getting dropped. So he wants to drop Thomas no matter what. So I guess we're telling him Mike Gesicki then. So next game up, Mike, here, Detroit at Minnesota. What do you got?
Yeah, this is an interesting game. I like the Minnesota defense in this game. Detroit coming in 0-4, so you got to feel bad for them in a way because it looks like they're fighting and scrapping, and they look like a good team. Looks like they're competitive. They just can't pull out the W. Kirk Cousins, normally Mr. Mendoza, normally middle of the pack. He's just on the edge of the QB1 rankings here at number 13, and I got to go down a little further to 20 for Jared Goff at 20. Looking at the running back situation, for Denver, they got that luxury of having both. I'm sorry. I looked at Denver. I know we're talking about Detroit, Minnesota here. I don't know why I said Denver there. You look at the running back situation. DeAndre Swift, number 5 on the ranking this week. Jamal Williams isn't far off. He's an excellent PPR play at 26 on the rankings here. And the running back, I think Dalvin Cook is fully back. He's number 2 on my rankings this week. And then, of course, when we're talking about receivers, Adam Thielen is usually always up there. But the young guy, Justin Jefferson, in his second year has proven he belongs as the WR1. He's number 6 on my rankings this week. I got Adam Thielen at 16. And looking for Detroit side, I think TJ Hawkinson is really their best receiver. I mean, I got to scroll way down before I find a Khalif Raymond, in the 50s or so. So I would definitely say that TJ Hawkinson, number 4 on the rankings. And Minnesota has the opposite thing where they didn't really have a tight end, but they got the young guy Tyler Conklin trying to get into that TE1 talk. He's at number 15 on my rankings this week. I'm definitely taking Minnesota at home over the Lions.
Yeah, the Lions have, been a struggling team. They've struggled repeatedly, and this is a team that you ask, who ends up better off in the trade, and I think the reality of it all is, the better off now is the Rams with Matt Stafford. They gave up the house for him, though. The Rams giving up picks of 2 years ago, this year, next year. I don't know if they want to have a first-round pick for a decade, but the way that things look for Detroit is they got Jared Goff. If that doesn't work, they have a ton of picks from the Rams. Then unless they botch the draft, they should be okay in their future and picking up their future fantasy stud quarterback and reality stud quarterback. But right now it goes to the Rams. Detroit is struggling, and Detroit has put you in a position where DeAndre Swift is a guy that you have to play. Usually when a team is struggling incredibly, I look to their running back and just their running back or their tight end, and that's where I'm going to look here. DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson to put them out there. TJ, a high-end tight end too. DeAndre, I like him as a running back too. On Minnesota's side, because he's playing Detroit, I like Kirk Cousins. I still think he's a quarterback too, low-end one, high-end two, but I like him in this game. Dalvin Cook, obviously worth the play. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, I don't have to tell you, but I will. And, the tight end situation, they used to be Kyle Rudolph and company, has now changed here. We saw a Tyler Conklin with 6 targets recently. Chris Herndon had really nothing in the offense. So Conklin, I would say, is a tight end 2 for you still. I know he was available out there when I was looking at picking up a tight end, but I like Cook, Jefferson, Thielen, and Cousins for Minnesota in this one. Minnesota's got more firepower. I'm going with Minnesota to win this game. Now, we have another thought come in here. In that trade, Diggs and Henderson are the 2 best pieces. Certainly trade Allen and Thielen. TD dependent. You can add wide receiver depth off the wire. Can't do that with the running back position. So, Greg saying he would have made that trade.
None of that's true.
So
don't believe that.
So
I hate to be negative, Nancy, but that's just not true. That's just a falsehood. That's just you gotta look at reality. You can't just pick. You can't say I could pick up wide receiver depth on the wire. I look at these wires. I look at them. You know how often I look at them? 20, 30, 50 times a day. So you sometimes they're not out there. You can't just blanketly say yes. You get wide receiver depth that's not the same at running back. I mean, you take a look at injury situations. You take a look who would have rostered Damian Williams before the injury to David Montgomery. So you can't say that. This game evolves daily, not just on Sundays, not just on Mondays, not just on Thursdays. If you're not looking at this stuff daily, you're going to make mistakes. Don't listen to that. That was bad advice.
Well, I mean, I think the thing is everything is relative, right? You know, and that's what you're saying. You know, you can't say what's good for one league is good for another because you don't know how many teams are in this league. You don't know how they drafted. You don't know who's available. You don't know who's injured. You don't know who's on your roster. So, you know, that's all relative, right? Saying to somebody you can get rid of Aaron Rodgers when all you have is Ben Roethlisberger makes no sense. But if you have Pat Mahomes and Kyler Murray, then yeah, maybe you can afford life without Rodgers. But definitely make sure that you look at what you have and see this. You know, obviously we agree to disagree with some stuff here, but I would agree in the fact that, listen, Keenan Allen's a 1, Thielen's a 1, Diggs is a 1, Henderson has been hurt, and Henderson is supposed to be the one. And I like Darrell Henderson, and I covered him when he was in college at Memphis, and I was high on him when he came in as a rookie. But I look at this situation and say to myself, you have no idea what you can pick up unless, I mean, every league is different. Every wire is different. There's some leagues, I had to pick guys up this past week. There's some leagues where I looked at the free agency and I went, how the hell is this guy still here? There were other leagues where I was like, crap, these players are good because there's not a lot out here. So you can't just say you're going to pick up depth when you don't know what the depth is going to be. And you can't say that about every league because every league is different and you can't treat them all the same. So I will say that I like Diggs. I think Diggs is fantastic. But at the same time, to give up 2 1s for a 1 and an injured 1 doesn't make sense. And you're giving up 2 receivers for a receiver and a running back. Josh asked the question, Patterson, Myers, Odell, Julio, or Carson. Start 2 in a PPR. Julio's injured right now. Odell is not trustworthy. So I think if I had to pick, I would say Patterson and Carson, I'm guessing here. Mike, what would you say?
Yeah, that's what I would say. They're 15 and 16 on my rankings this week.
So we're going to go with that. So, Josh, to answer your question, we would say Patterson and Carson and from the both of us. And then we got another question that came in here. Do you think Perrin and the rookie Evans will have a good game against the Packers?
No.
Okay.
No, it's easy. That's why Samaje Perrin hasn't been starting. You know, that's why he's not better than Joe Mixon, but he can fill in. He's number 32 on my rankings this week, and I haven't seen enough from Chris Evans. I've heard about him. I've been hearing about this cat for a year. He hasn't showed up yet, so I can't count on somebody that I don't know if they're going to show up. So no, yeah, no to Perrine, no to Evans.
And I think they're going to be playing from behind, so you're going to look for them to pass the ball more. So look at that. And only can start one running back. So what are you saying here? Okay, so between Patterson and Carson, start Carson if he's healthy to go. Next question.
I got him barely outranking him. Carson's 15 and Patterson's 16 on my rankings this week.
Yeah, so we would say Carson by a hair for Mike. I would say Carson outright. Denver at Pitt, Mike. What do you got for this?
Yeah, this is an interesting game. Definitely don't want to play either quarterback here. Teddy Bridgewater's dinged up. Probably not going to be out of the concussion protocol. Looks like it's going to be Drew Lock, who's number 31 on my ranking this week. And Ben Roethlisberger, that big stud, all-pro, been to the Super Bowl. This guy's been in the league forever. He's just as good as... Stop. He's number 30 on the rankings. Somebody needs to take him out to the barn and finish him off here already because Pittsburgh's in a lot of trouble, and it's all stemming from the quarterback. They have an outstanding running back in Najee Harris, who's number 7 this week on the rankings. They have 3 great wide receivers that anybody would kill for. They have a young and upcoming tight end. They have a great tight end in Eric Ebron as well. The problem is the quarterback. The quarterback's the problem in Pittsburgh. But I got Najee Harris at number 7. And then, they're splitting the carries a little bit with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon here. But I got Melvin Gordon at 28, and I got Javonte Williams a little bit better than that at 26. So I would think, 37. So I got Melvin Gordon a little bit higher than Javonte Williams. So Melvin Gordon 28, Javonte Williams 37. And then looking at the rankings for a receiver, again, Ben Roethlisberger's killing his wide receivers. I got Deontay Johnson at 21. He looked to be fully back, and I got to go way down on the list to 39 for Juju, and even further down for Chase Claypool. Then I look at the other side of the ball. I look at the Broncos, and they've been dinged up a bit. Cortland Sutton's the number one guy there. That's the guy you want. He's number 27. And on the tight end front, the Steelers' Eric Ebron doesn't really show up anymore. I saw Pat Freiermuth catch a touchdown in the last 2 weeks, but Noah Fant on the other side of the ball, he's the guy you really want. He's number 7 on the rankings. Going from the Mile High, which is almost left coast, to the East Coast at 1 o'clock should not affect the Broncos. The thing that's going to affect the Broncos is the fact that they got Drew Lock at quarterback. So that's why I'm going to take the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, this Denver team, a contender or a pretender, said it last year. What are these guys going to be? And they're 3-1 right now. Teddy Bridgewater, I think, pushes them toward a contender if they stay in positive footing and he stays healthy. But he has concussion right now, and so God willing, everybody with an injury will get better on and off the fields of life, and that includes Teddy. Drew Lock changes things. I think he makes things better for Cortland Sutton, but he does change, the output, the anticipated output of this game, which is very frustrating here because I like what Denver's been doing lately here, but they're playing in Pittsburgh. I don't like the quarterback situation. Look for Javonte. This is a week where I would play Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. Hopefully you don't have them both taking up space. I don't think that this is a good 1-2 like Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. I like Javonte more, but I would say Javonte Williams, a running back 1, Melvin Gordon, a running back 2, is how I look at this. Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick, I like them both. Tim Patrick, though, I put him as a low-end wide receiver 2. I like Cortland Sutton out there. Noah Fant, obviously, as well. On Pittsburgh's side, Ben Roethlisberger's dinged up as well. He's got a hip injury. Not a big fan of what they're doing there. Najee Harris, I would say, is a running back 2. I don't like their receivers. I really don't like this. I didn't go after Juju in the draft. I wondered if I should. I'm happy that I trusted myself and didn't because Juju has never proven that he's been a one without Antonio Brown. Deontay Johnson hasn't proven anything, and I don't like the tight end situation. So really with Pitt, I just look at Najee Harris. Deontay, I would say, is a flex guy for me. Juju, I'd leave off. And the value is more on Denver's side in running the ball. I'm going to give a slight edge to the Broncos in this game. I don't like the fact that Teddy is obviously injured, but I don't like the Steelers at all this year. I don't like what they've been putting together on the field, so I got to go with Denver in this one. We have another question coming in here. We'll take that in a second. Miami at Tampa, the battle for Florida. Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, it's going to be a good game to watch. A lot of people don't think it will be, but Tom Brady struggled in the last couple games. If you call that struggling, I mean, he led his team to a victory in the last one against his old team in New England. But I got to rank Tom Brady up there. He's always going to be up there. He's number 5 on the ranking this week. And then on the other side of the ball, well, not so much. They wish they had a guy like Tom Brady, but they got Jacoby Brissett. He's a place card holder at best. He has had moments of brilliance, but there's a reason he hasn't been a long-term starter in the league. He's ranked number 24 on the ranking this week. Leonard Fournette coming in at number 13 on the RB rankings. Myles Gaskin, the opposite, the inverse, number 31 on the ranking this week. Looking at the wide receivers, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, these names, they're household names. Chris Godwin, number 11 on the rankings. Mike Evans, number 20. And then going down a little bit further, Antonio Brown, number 31. And I got to go down a little bit further, see the number 1 receivers for Miami. Jalen Waddle at 33. Devontae Parker at 36. And then as far as the tight ends go, we talked about Mike Gesicki earlier. Mike Gesicki, number 8 on the rankings for Miami. I have to go down a little bit further. Cameron Brate stepped in and took that starting role from, where Gronk left off. You would have thought it would have been O.J. Howard. It wasn't. O.J. Howard did come in big in that game, but I was worried a little bit about Brate because he dropped 4 or 5 targets. So I think they're going to stick with Brate. I think he's got more sure hands, but a lot's going to depend on how Brate performs this week for Tom Brady and the Bucs to win. but I'm confident in Brady. I'm going to say he's number 14 tight end, and I'm going to take the Bucks at home.
Yeah, you know, this Bucks team, what they've had, and in bringing in Gronk, they have 3 tight ends. So if one goes down, they got another, and then if he goes down, they got another. They actually have 3 starters. Now, Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard haven't proven that they can be the dominant guy, hence why you bring in Rob Gronkowski and obviously his connection to Tom Brady. But Cameron Brate is a serviceable guy that's probably out there in your fantasy waiver wire. I would imagine that he would be out there in free agency maybe a few days ago. You might have missed him already, but if he is out there, he is worth picking up because of the fact that, you know, we're in a situation now where Cameron Brate can step things up and make some things happen. O.J. Howard, you know, the two of them together has been a difficult situation, but Cameron Brate is worth the pickup right now. On the side for Miami, Tua's injured. Jacoby's out there as your starter. Myles Gaskin, Malcolm Brown, Salvin Ahmed, they're all trying to figure things out here and who's going to get the ball the most. So, I mean, Gaskin and Malcolm Brown, I would say, are running back 4s for you, especially in this matchup. Jalen Waddle, I would say that he is a wide receiver 3. Mike Gesicki, I would say, is a tight end 1 for you, maybe on the mid-range, lower end, but I'd say he's a tight end 1. Tom Brady's worth the start. Leonard Fournette's worth the start as a running back 2 or 3. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, both worth the start. Antonio Brown worth the flex. And I would say Cameron Brate is a low-end tight end 1 in this game. The value for fantasy is highly on the side of the Bucs, and I'm going with the Bucs in this one. We have we have a question in here. So before we get to New Orleans at Washington, let's go to the question, which is Corey Davis, Jamison Crowder, Marvin Jones Jr., I'm guessing Robbie Anderson, T. Higgins, Hunter Renfrow. Start 2. Corey Davis, Jamison Crowder, Marvin Jones, Robbie Anderson, T. Higgins, Hunter Renfrow. Start 2 in PPR.
Well, the names are interesting. The names are intriguing. In draft time, these were great names to consider. Hunter Renfrow is going to be the low man on a totem pole, so I'm going to take him out. Robbie Anderson looked like he had the biggest name coming into this season. He hasn't done anything yet, so I'm taking him out. I'm not confident in what the Jaguars are doing at all right now. It's just a train wreck right now. So I'm taking Marvin Jones out of that equation. So sometimes you subtract instead of looking for that one guy who stands out. When they're all real close, you start taking the negative guys and you start doing process of elimination. Jamison Crowder first game back and the Jets won. He looked like an inspiring athlete last week, and I'm still confident in Corey Davis. I know he plays for the Jets as well, but I would strongly consider starting one or both of those guys. Let me give a quick glance on the rankings here. I have Corey Davis at 32, and I think I have James Crowder just a little bit below him. So, yeah, I'm not sure I can count on those other guys you mentioned.
Yeah, you know, I definitely am not going to be counting on Marvin Jones in Jacksonville's offense right now. I'm not counting on Hunter Renfrow because I agree with Mike. He's low on the totem pole. Robbie Anderson in Carolina are going to be facing off against Philadelphia. I would like to think that Robbie Anderson is going to evolve, but like to think and what's actually happening is something that, you know, you have to obviously assess. And so I would say it's hard for me to pick 2 Jets, and T. Higgins is banged up right now. I would say Higgins if healthy, but you got to monitor that. And then I would say to take a look at Corey Davis. I think Jamison Crowder is going to have a return for a touchdown against Atlanta. So I would say Corey Davis in this matchup. I could say Corey Davis at Jamison Crowder, but it's hard for me to want to tell you 2 Jets right now. That's my only concern. Robbie Anderson I would have picked if things were better for Robbie Anderson in the current state of things. Mike, next game, New Orleans at Washington. What do you got?
Yeah, this is going to be a battle of the quarterback situation for all the wrong reasons here, and I think our boy Jameis Winston is going to come up the loser. I got Jameis Winston at 28. Part of that is they take him out for some goal line and red zone stuff, and Taysom Hill's been delivering it. But part of it is that he's just not very good. He started out the year with like 5 touchdown passes, whatever. Oh, this is great. Sean Payton's a genius. He's the quarterback whisperer. And Jameis Winston, no more problem. Jameis Winston is a problem. He's like a lesser problem than Ben Roethlisberger right now, but he is a problem. So I got him at 28. Meanwhile, Taylor Heineke's been delivering. Right now this week, he's Mr. Mendoza at 18. Taylor Heineke has put up some big numbers, but part of that reason is he's got some players around him. Now, that's not to say Jameis doesn't. Jameis has Alvin Kamara, number 3 running back on my ranking this week. That's who he has. But, well, Antonio Gibson, number 14 on the other side of the ball there. But the biggest reason, the reason why Heineke has been delivering so big is Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin's just a stud. Every time they need a first down, I see Terry McLaurin. Every time they need a touchdown, I see Terry McLaurin. And Taylor Heineke is delivering the ball. Taylor Heineke is a real genuine athlete. If you look at this cat and really been watching him, you could tell he just hadn't had an opportunity to get on the field. He's number 12 on the rankings this week, and I got to go down in the 50s before I find a Marquez Callaway or Deontay Harris or something. So I can't play any of those guys, and I can't even play any tight end in this game because, well, Logan Thomas is out. I don't think James Bates is going to be able to step up. And, on the other side of the ball, they have a converted wide receiver playing tight end. He's been getting it done because Adam Troutman hasn't, but Juwan Johnson hasn't been able to make it happen, really. But he's number 31 on the ranking. So, again, I can't really start any receivers, including tight end from New Orleans. And that's what puts that team in a sad state. And that's why I'm going to take Washington for the upset at home.
Yeah, New Orleans, I mean, we said it before. Papa Joe said it last week. Don't be surprised when Jameis Winston eventually looks like Jameis Winston again. I mean, he started off with 5 touchdowns, and anybody that thought, oh, my God, this is going to happen every single week. No, it's not. So now I hope the best for Jameis always and forever. I hope the best for everybody out there. It's just not happening. Alvin Kamara is worth the play. Tony Jones is out, which puts Dwayne Washington behind Alvin Kamara. So I would look for Kamara to get the majority of this. Marquez Callaway, 74 yards receiving recently here. Deontay Harris led the team with 8 targets. So I would say Deontay Harris, if you're in a deep league and you got to get somebody, you got a bunch of injuries, 14 teams, 16 teams, whatever it may be, Deontay might be a wide receiver 4 flex for you, but Marquez Callaway, not a bad bet as a wide receiver 3. Alvin Kamara as a running back 1. As far as the tight end position, Juwan Johnson scored his 3rd touchdown of the season in 4 weeks. I think he's a sneaky one as a low-end 1, high-end 2. I told you it's hard for me to it's hard for me to tell you not to play him because I just think he's sneaky. I think there's good with that. And if you got Taysom Hill coming in there for goal line stuff like Mike said, he could fake the run and then just throw over the top, little jump pass. So I do like that on that side of it. Taylor Heineke on the other side, I would say is a quarterback 2. But I think he's going to get some points this week. Antonio Gibson's worth the play. Terry McLaurin as well. And I don't trust anybody in the tight end situation with Logan Thomas, questionable with a hamstring injury. So with that being said, I think there's more fantasy value with the Saints. However, Washington is at home. I'm going to agree with Mike. I'm going to go with the Washington blanks for this game since they still don't have a dang name. Mike, we'll take a step aside after Philadelphia, Carolina. What do you have for this?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game. I think Carolina is a solid team. They didn't show it last week in Dallas. I got Sam Darnold at 16 this week on the rankings. I got Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts doesn't look like he's playing well. It doesn't look like he's having a good game. They turn around. He's always top 10 in fantasy points. It's like he's a great fantasy player, great fantasy quarterback, and his team is 1-3. So, you as a quarterback on a professional level, you take that at a different point. But for fantasy purposes, he's an outstanding quarterback, number 7 on the rankings this week. And then going over to the running backs, I think CMC is still going to be out. Chuba Hubbard, I got at 22. Looking at Philadelphia side of the ball, Miles Sanders hasn't really been the Miles Sanders we would like to see. He's number 29 on the ranking this week. Kenneth Gainwell outperformed him last week, but don't get overexcited. I got Kenny Gainwell at 38. And looking at the receivers, this is where there's some separation. I got Devontae Smith at 32. And then I got to go way further down. I think I got Jalen Reagor down there, too, in the 40s. I got the Panthers wide receivers in the 50s, except for DJ Moore, number 7 on the rankings. He was on top several years back in the adjusted explosive index when he was coming into the league. He was up top, and you could tell why. He's been up top most of his career. Again, number 7 on the rankings. The tight end position, well, not so much for Carolina. They traded that guy, Dan Arnold. They're looking for Ian Thomas or somebody to step up. And on the other side of the ball, they got 2 guys. We didn't expect to see Zach Ertz on the team even, but he's not going to outperform Dallas Goedert. I think Dallas Goedert's the one to have if you have to choose between the two. But I got Dallas Goedert ranked at 18. Zach Ertz at 21. I'm going to go with Carolina at home.
Yeah, you know, Philadelphia can score a lot of points against teams that are not that great. That doesn't tell me a lot about Philadelphia. So Jalen Hurts, obviously, fantasy-wise, because he can run and create some opportunities for you, that does help you out a little bit here. I like Hurts, but he's a quarterback too. For me in this, a low-end 1, high-end 2. Miles Sanders, taking a look at him, you know, seeing his struggles. Kenneth Gainwell could be taken over here. I like Kenneth Gainwell. Obviously, another Memphis guy, another Tiger that I covered, another Mike Norvell, another shut-up Florida State fanatics when you want to fire Mike Norvell and give him a chance. Kenneth Gainwell, to me, is a good guy to pick up. He might be out there in some of those fantasy leagues for you folks, some of those smaller leagues or some of those leagues where somebody got frustrated or they just didn't think that Miles Sanders coming from Penn State was going to be ousted by a guy from Memphis and forgot about talent ruling the day. So, and that Miles Sanders hasn't proven himself consistently. So Kenneth Gainwell, not a bad pickup as a low-end running back 2, high-end 3. Devontae Smith, I would say in this game, is a wide receiver, low-end 2, high-end 3. Dallas Goedert, if you have to play him, hopefully you don't. But I would say, you know, I did put him out there last week. I had to. I'd say he's a low tight end 1. Sam Darnold in this matchup, I like him, but I like him as a quarterback 2. Christian McCaffrey is hurt right now with a hamstring injury. That leaves Chuba out there. Royce Freeman, who used to be with the Broncos, is behind him. Chuba Hubbard, not bad of a play for you in this matchup as a running back 2, high-end running back 3. If Christian McCaffrey's definitely out, then Chuba, I think, is a running back 2 for you. DJ Moore hasn't shown me enough. Robbie Anderson hasn't shown me a lot either. Terrence Marshall, their rookie, only had 1 catch here recently, so I don't like any of the receiving core. Hopefully you don't have to play any of those guys. And Ian Thomas, not really sold on him either. So I would say the fantasy value leans on the side of Philadelphia, but Carolina's at home, and they're a better team than I think some people are going to give them credit for. So I'm going to pick the Panthers at home as well. Mike, we had some thoughts come in. Somebody said that Tyler Higbee was dropped in their league, so they picked him up. And we got another message came in. Just sent in a trade. This is from Michael. Michael C. Said, sent in a trade. Cortland Sutton and Melvin Gordon for Hollywood Brown and Zach Moss. Who wins? Is it fair? So who wins? Sutton and Gordon for Hollywood Brown and Moss?
Yeah, I would have to say the Sutton-Gordon side would be the winning side, although, I see a lot of this, we talked about this earlier, when somebody was trying to trade players. It's almost hard when you're oversaturated with one team, and then trading for 2 guys from the same team not all the time makes sense. Jerry Jeudy is going to be back probably, after week 8, I would assume, and there's still plenty of time. And I like Gordon. I like Moss. Hollywood Brown's spotty, but he always seems to come up with the big play when they need. So, that's a tough one. I would venture to say stay away from this trade if you're the one giving up Sutton and Gordon. If you're the one getting Sutton and Gordon, even though they're on the same team, provided it's not going to come back to bite you in the ass come bye week. I never draft according to bye weeks, mind you, but when you're at week 5 in the season, you want to start looking at bye weeks. You don't want to put yourself in a bad situation. So I think the Sutton-Gordon side wins.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We have another question that came in. I was 10th on the waiver wire and was able to get Damian Williams from Chicago. Would you rather have him or Chuba Hubbard?
I think right now I'd rather have Damian Williams. I wouldn't drop Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard still has tremendous value. Chuba Hubbard's 22 this week. I don't think I would drop Chuba Hubbard if that's the question. I would definitely be happy with Damian Williams. So I got him number 18 this week, and I think CMC is closer to a return than David Montgomery. I think David Montgomery is still 3 to 5 weeks out. I think CMC could be back in a couple weeks.
Yeah, so I would say if you can have them both, have them both. But that's not a bad pickup for being 10th on the waiver wire. Shout out to you, Rendon. And another one right before the break, Hunt, Carson, Lockett. Flex PPR. I'm guessing we can play one of them of the three, Hunt, Carson, or Lockett.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I mean, you look at all those guys. It's almost like a humble brag. I mean, I wonder if I got Carson the number 15 overall running back this week, and then I got Hunt at 20, and these are your flex guys. Who do you have? Do you have Austin Eckler and Derrick Henry? I mean, who's your number 1 and 2? Sometimes it's almost too good to believe. But I got Lockett ranked number 9 this week too, so that's a tough call. Usually, I always go with the running back. In that case, I would have to go with Chris Carson.
Yeah, Hunt, Carson, and Lockett for flex PPR, and Chicago and Cleveland's playing the Chargers. I would say, let me look at this again. Lockett, because DK Metcalf's dinged up a little bit for Seattle. So Mike would say Carson. So Carson's dinged up a little bit. Lockett's healthy. Hunt's healthy. I would say this week, I would have to say Lockett. I would say Lockett. I like Kareem Hunt, but again, it's always who's going to get the most touches and the opportunities here. So, Rendon, you're welcome. Want to make sure we say that to you. And to Josh here, Mike said Carson and I said Lockett for this week. So, and they're both on the same team. So, Mike says Carson and I'll say Lockett. We have another question that came in here. I want to make sure we get to these right before the break, as we'll come back and give you plenty more information here and make sure that we get this up for you. Let's see here. Next one that came up was, he said Chuba is on the waiver wire. I'd have to drop Javonte Williams or Melvin Gordon.
No.
I would say don't do that. Do not do that.
I mean, trust me, I would like to have Chuba Hubbard, but not at the expense of dropping either one of those guys.
And then Josh said his running backs are Delvin Cook and Najee Harris. So he was asking about the flex PPR.
Is that an 8-man league, or what is that? I mean, I'm not trying to be – I'm just – really? You have Cook and Harris, and then you have Carson. You did very well drafting. That's a very well-drafted team for what I see. I see why you have to ask for decisions. Isn't it a great place to be? Isn't it luxury when you have to choose between the filet mignon and the lobster? Well, let's have both. I mean, you're in a good situation. That's well.
Yeah, I would say keep it, even though the fact that I understand you got a bunch of Broncos, but I would not be getting rid of that right now. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, as well as 7 days a week there for you to dine in, as well as takeout and delivery, 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat. You're going to hear from them, as well as Carvel DeWitt and Cafe Kubal in this fast break, and then we'll be back to answer your questions and, of course, finish off the rest of this Week 5 of Fantasy Football's matchups.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products. offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cubal needs. Cafe Cubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, where you are listening. You are watching on facebook.com/livenowdt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. We appreciate you being here, and of course sending your questions in the live feed. You can always talk to us in the live feeds of MixLR, YouTube, and Facebook, all /wakeupcalldt every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Mike and I are here inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. 7 days a week, of course, for the games as well, for the NFL games on Thursday, Sunday, and Monday, and of course those times where they're on Saturdays that you have during the season. And of course, you can get to the Wildcat 7 days a week for lunch, dinner, and drinks, and you can go there for takeout and delivery by calling 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222. Tennessee at Jacksonville. Mike, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is going to be a game that's not going to be led by the quarterbacks from either team. Trevor Lawrence struggling, but, as a rookie, and he still looks okay, but, poor Jacksonville last week snatching defeat out of the jaws of victory. They were trying to win the game. They just couldn't do it when it was over. Tannehill, 17, Trevor Lawrence, 22, and Tannehill's really hindered by the lack of wide receivers, but he's not hindered by the running back situation. Derrick Henry, number 1 overall running back this week, and James Robinson, number 12 running back. And like I said, the receivers, it doesn't look like A.J. Brown's going to be back. Doesn't like Julio's going to be back. So, you're like, well, who's going to be catching the ball there? Exactly. So you look at, on the other side, you look at Jacksonville. Laviska Shenault, they're going to try to get him more involved, especially now that DJ Chark is out. So I got Laviska Shenault at 38. I can't really start any receiver from Tennessee. And looking at the tight end position, same thing goes for tight ends for Jacksonville and Tennessee. Maybe a Tennessee Anthony Fisker, who I have at number 23. I can't pick the Jaguars right now. There's too much going on. There's not enough talent. And Derrick Henry's the best one on the field. So that's the only reason I'm going with the Titans. I'm going to take the Titans.
Yeah, I would like to say this is a game Jacksonville can win if they were playing better defensively. This isn't even an offensive thing. This is the Swiss cheese of their defense that makes me feel like they're not going to find a way to defeat Tennessee, despite the fact that they're playing this game in Jacksonville. Ryan Tannehill playing up against this Jaguars defense. I have him as a quarterback too this week. Derrick Henry I have as obviously the guy that you have to have out there going up against these Jaguars. Anthony Ferkshire did get some targets in his return this past week, but Derrick Henry is the guy to play. On the other side, it's James Robinson. And really, that's all I got for you. Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault lead the way. Tavon Austin's supposed to be out there. Jamal Agnew is a great sneaky flex for you, or the Jacksonville defense and special teams, because Agnew has 2 touchdowns on special teams in the first 4 weeks of the season, just to make a note of that. Really, this is Derrick Henry versus James Robinson in fantasy. Henry has proven that he's a fantasy stud. James Robinson has proven that when his team is terrible, he's still getting you good points in fantasy. So I'm going to take the Titans, but I think Derrick Henry and James Robinson will be a good show to watch. Next game that we have up, Mike, New England at Houston. What do you got?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game because last week, Bill Belichick stymied Tom Brady in a way. He knew, he knows his weaknesses. He knows his kryptonite. He's been with him for 20 years. So that was interesting. And Belichick, the way he prepares for a guy like that, he prepares the same way for a rookie quarterback in Davis Mills. And that's going to be trouble for Davis Mills. I got him ranked at 30. I got Mac Jones not far up from him, though, at 25, even though Houston is just miserable off a blowout loss by 40 points. Looking at the running back situation, Damian Harris is dinged up quite a bit, and Houston doesn't really have that guy. So it's kind of like when you're going to the grocery store and you're like, yeah, I got to get this, I got to get this. Oh, no need to go down that aisle. Well, we're not talking about running backs in this game. And then I'm looking at the wide receivers, and you want to say the same thing. You're tootling along in your with your shopping cart, and you're like, oh, I'll just take a Houston wide receiver. Well, it looks like they're out of those. I'll just take a Patriot wide receiver. Well, it looks like they're out of those too. Darn. So then you move on to the tight end spot, and you're like, wow, they got to have no tight ends either. So that's it. And I'm going to take New England on the road.
Yeah, there's really Chris Conley leaving the Jaguars for the Texans, not a good plan. There's really nothing to be excited about in this game for Houston. They just got blown out 40-0 against another AFC East team, the Bills. The Patriots aren't as good as the Bills this year, but the Patriots are going to win this game. Damian Harris, flex. Yay. Mark Ingram, running back 4, maybe a flex. I don't like anything in fantasy for this game. Brandon Cooks could be a late flex for you. That's it. I'm picking the Patriots. Both of them wear red, white, and blue, but I'm seeing red in this game. I'm just seeing just a bloody heap of nothing. And I'm picking New England just because Houston is that bad. Chicago at the and that's not saying the Patriots are horrible. It's just saying if Buffalo can beat them 40-0, I trust that Bill Belichick can figure it out. Chicago at the Vegas Raiders. What do you got for this one, Mike?
Well, Justin Fields is finally the man, or at least right now anyway. They keep saying Andy Dalton's going to be the starter when he comes back. Justin Fields, number 23 on the rankings this week. And then you don't go far from there for the Vegas quarterback, Derek Carr. Well, a little bit far. 14. He's up to 14, so he's a solid QB2 for you this week. And then you start looking at the running back situation. Damian Williams taking over, number 18. That's going to be that way for about the next month. So he's number 18 on my rankings this week. Josh Jacobs not far behind at 24. And then looking at the receiver situation here, the receivers are a little bit off from where we've talked about it with other teams, like Allen Robinson, for instance. He's the number 1 guy, but he's at 28. And then, you're trying to look for a Henry Ruggs or somebody to step up from Vegas. I'm looking at a Renfro at 43, a Ruggs at 46. So, these guys might not even make it. Brian Edwards at 60. These guys might not make the cut for me. Then I look at tight end situation, and Darren Waller is obviously the best receiver, wide receiver, tight end, running back. He's the best player on Vegas's team. He's number 2 on their rankings this week. And Chicago doesn't really have that guy that I can count on. Maybe a Cole Kmet at 28, but I'm not hanging my hat on that. But I'm going to take the Raiders at home.
Yeah, Raiders 3-1 this season up to this point. And, playing at home and taking care of home. And now that they can actually have fans at home after opening their spaceship to nobody this past year, almost like they were in Area 51. So, for Chicago's side of things, Allen Robinson's worth the play. That's really, that's what I'm looking for in the receiving core. Damian Williams is questionable with a thigh injury. If he is able to play, then you can look to him as I would put him in my flex because I would like to think you got a couple guys above him. But Damian Williams, I'd say, is a running back 3. Khalil Herbert, opportunity could be there for him this this week with Montgomery, and if Williams is dinged up, Tariq Cohen's already out. So Herbert, coming from Virginia, could get some playing time this week. So just monitor that, pay attention to that. He could get out. I think he's going to get out there for something. Damian Williams, I would say running back 3. Allen Robinson, wide receiver 1. On the other side, Josh Jacobs, I would say running back 3. Kenyon Drake in this one, really nothing. Henry Ruggs, I would say wide receiver 3. Brian Edwards, wide receiver 4. Darren Waller is worth starting at tight end. I'm going to go with the Raiders at home in this game as well. Cleveland at the Chargers. Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, this is an interesting game to me because I think the Browns are across the board so far this year, the Browns have played better than they are, and I think the Chargers have played better than they are. But I believe in the Chargers more than I do the Browns. The Browns got a stout defense. They got a stout defensive front. They just haven't always been there for their team. Justin Herbert's been there for his team, though, all along. You can tell that right away. He's number 10 on the rankings. And then on the opposite side, Baker Mayfield, not so much. He's 26 on the rankings this week. Then you go over to the running back position. They got Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, 20 and 21 on my rankings this week, respectively. And then Austin Eckler, number 4. He's always an RB1, especially in PPR formats. Then you go to the wide receiver spot, Keenan, Mike Williams, number 15. And then you got to go to Cleveland side for wide receiver. Your best bet is Odell Beckham Jr. Jarvis Landry's out. Odell didn't look crisp this past week. Didn't look like him and Mayfield were on time with each other. Hopefully last week's game will serve as enough to get them back on track. Looking at the tight ends, well, not so much here. You look at maybe Jared Cook, who's 155 years old, still getting it done. He's number 11. And for the Browns, I can't really count on Austin Hooper. He's ranked number 20 on the rankings. I'm going to go with the Chargers at home.
Yeah, and Donald Parham Jr., shout out to my guy from the XFL that I talked about on a short list of guys that I thought would make it in the NFL and should get the call. He got a touchdown in the victory for the Chargers here recently. Cleveland-wise, Baker Mayfield, I would say, I would not trust him as your quarterback right now. I don't trust Odell. It's Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They're both worth the play. Not trusting in Austin Hooper. On the other side, Justin Herbert, I think, is a quarterback 2 for you, a low-end 1, high-end 2. Austin Eckler's worth the play. Keenan Allen is worth the play. I'm not as sold on Keenan Allen as some other people are, but Keenan Allen's somebody that you could put out there as a wide receiver 1. And Jared Cook and Donald Parham, hard to say who's going to get it done in this game. I would say if I had to lean, I'd lean with Cook, and I would say he's a tight end 2. There is a lot of value in running the ball for the Browns and in catching out of the backfield, but the Chargers are at home. I'm going to give the edge to the Chargers in this game. Next one up, the Giants at the Cowboys. Mike, what do you got?
Well, first you got to talk about the quarterbacks here. The quarterback play is crucial for both teams. Dak Prescott checking in at number 6 this week. And Daniel Jones has been able to put up numbers on teams that have a defense like Dallas, has some holes on the rankings this week. And then both running backs are real similar as well. I got Saquon Barkley ranked number 8 this week. I got Zeke Elliott ranked number 9 this week. Then you go to receivers, and this is where the separation happens. I got CeeDee Lamb at 14, and then I got Amari Cooper a little further down at 26. And, you search, you keep searching, you're scrolling down, you look, oh, there's Kenny Golladay at 34. If that's their number 1 receiver, I don't want any part of it. But Daniel Jones is going to be able to put up numbers. Somebody's going to have to catch the ball, so it's not a bad play if you have to play him. And then looking at the tight end position, a little bit different for both teams. I do like the Dalton Schultz at number 9 this week on the rankings, and Evan Ingram looks to be totally back as he inches his way back up the charts. He's number 17 for me this week on the tight end rankings. I got to go with Dallas at home for this one.
Yeah, I got to go with the Cowboys at home in this matchup as well. Daniel Jones is somebody that I told you I liked him coming out of Duke and interviewed his coach about him, David Cutcliffe, who's a quarterback guru. He has struggled, but let's see if he can make things interesting. Saquon Barkley's been underwhelming. He's a running back 2 for you in this matchup. Kenny Golladay, like Mike said, somebody's got to do it. Sterling Shepard is hurt right now with a hamstring injury, so monitor that. Darius Slayton has one as well. Kenny Golladay, I would say, is a wide receiver 3 for you this week. Evan Ingram had 5 catches against the Saints. Rudolph was more limited. Ingram, I would say, is a tight end 2. Galladay, like I said, wide receiver 3. Saquon, a running back 2. Dallas' side, QB1, Dak Prescott. Ezekiel Elliott, running back 2. Running back 3, Tony Pollard. I like him in a flex for you. And I like Dalton Schultz, so I'd say put Dalton Schultz out there. Questionable with a hamstring is Amari Cooper. If he is unable to go, and Michael Gallup is also injured, CeeDee Lamb is a guy that I believe is going to take over eventually. This could be the week where he tries to cement himself a little bit more with Amari Cooper banged up. If Cooper's able to go, he's a 2, and CeeDee Lamb is a 1 either way. So I'd go with CeeDee Lamb. I'm picking the Cowboys at home. Next game up, San Francisco at Arizona. What do we got?
Yeah, Trey Lance has finally gotten his chance here, and this is a guy who they've been sprinkling in all along. You knew it was just going to be a matter of time before Garoppolo's out. Garoppolo went out and told everybody he was out before the doctors or before the coaches or anybody else got involved in making a decision. He told everybody he was out. So I don't know if I do that with Trey Lance breathing down my neck. But again, they did a great job of sprinkling Trey Lance into the offense. So it's not, suddenly, boom, here you are, go kid. He's number 11 on the rankings this week. And then you look on the other side of the ball, Kyler Murray. He's always in the top 5, top 6. He's number 4 this week on the rankings. Looking at the running back situation, a little bit different. Chase Edmonds, number 11. And then I'd have to go down a little further into the 30s to find James Conner at 36. San Fran's got a different situation because they've had almost a revolving door at running back due to injuries and so forth. Trey Sermon looks to be the guy at 42. And then a Kyle Juszczyk. Yes, Kyle Juszczyk, a fullback at 47. So that tells you where they are spreading the ball around in San Fran. And then as far as the receivers go, Kyler Murray's that excellent quarterback. He's got to have somebody to throw the ball to. But the most talented receiver on the field, the one that every time he catches the ball, he seems to be scoring a touchdown, is Deebo Samuel. I got him at number 4 this week. And on the other side of the ball, I think it's going to be more spread out. I'm not sure you can count on anybody. I mean, maybe a Christian Kirk. I got him in the 50s. But they do a good job in that spread offense. They're spreading the ball around. Unfortunately, not all the time does that bode well for fantasy football players. And then you go over to the tight end spot as well. And something similar, even George Kittle hasn't had a great year. I got him reluctantly ranked at number 3 just because somebody's got to make things happen. I think it's going to be George Kittle. I think he's going to get back on the horse here. I think he's going to get back into the top 5. That's why I have him at number 3. And then for Arizona, not so much. You can't really play a tight end. Maybe a Max Williams. By the way, Max Williams' hand size, I did have the opportunity several years ago to meet him. I shook his hand, and it was like it was like David and Goliath type thing with the handshake. I mean, this guy has huge hands, so maybe you spot start him at 16 this week. But I'm going definitely with the Cardinals at home.
Yeah, we got a question that came in. We'll get to it right before Sunday Night Football, so hang out here, Mike. But I'm going to go with the Cardinals as well in this matchup. I don't know how you can't go with the Cardinals. Trey Lance is a quarterback, too, may get his first start this week, and excited. Trey Sermon is a flex guy for you, a running back 3, I would say. Jaquez Patrick, also there, a guy that I covered as he came through his high school to Florida State to the NFL, spent some time with Cincinnati. So Trey Sermon, I would say, as a running back 3, and then Patrick after that. Deebo Samuel is a good flex for you this week, I would say. Kyler Murray is worth the play. Chase Edmonds and James Conner still. Who's going to be the guy? So I think I put some as flex for you. DeAndre Hopkins is worth the play. Christian Kirk, I like what he's been able to do, but he's been consistently inconsistent. So I like what he's been able to do sometimes. So he's a wide receiver 3 for me. Rondell Moore is a wide receiver 3 or 4. And that's how I would look at it. I'm going with Arizona at home. The question that came into us is from Michael, who said, I got a big one here, guys. So, he's got Herbert and Allen. Here's his thought. He doesn't like any of the Chargers' upcoming schedule for the rest of the season. So he's asking us, does he trade Justin Herbert for Jalen Hurts and Keenan Allen for DJ Moore? Yes or no?
Justin Herbert for Jalen Hurts, that's a tough one. I like Justin Herbert as a NFL and fantasy quarterback better than I do Jalen Hurts. But Jalen Hurts would always seem to get the edge by not much. It's razor thin as far as the fantasy. But I do have Jalen Hurts ranked number 7 this week. And the other part of that was who? What was the second part? Allen and who? DJ Moore.
Keenan Allen for DJ Moore.
Yeah, it's another close one there. Again, it's razor thin there. I got Keenan Allen this week at 13, and DJ Moore, I got him at 7. So again, it's not much of a margin here, but where I have him this week is DJ Moore. So I would go with, for fantasy purposes, yes, I would make both of those trades based on where I currently have those guys ranked. So again, without knowing all the particular, here's the scary thing, and I don't need everybody to send in their whole rosters or anything, but when we give you, when I give you gems like this or little answers to these questions, I don't know who the rest of your roster is, but just considering and just isolating that situation that you're giving me, that's the best play that you can make at this point in time. Now, if you're listening to this on a delay on a podcast or 5 days later and somebody snaps a twig in practice, don't come at me. I'm just saying that's where I am right now.
Yeah, and he said that his other wide receiver is Stephon Diggs. So,
yeah, you're fine. You can even if it's a mistake, you'll be all right.
Yeah. So for Michael, to answer your question here, as both of us answer it, Mike said, yeah, make the trade. I would say the same thing. I'm looking at DJ Moore right now statistically. DJ Moore's got 30 catches through 4 weeks. Keenan Allen has 28, so they're very close. And DJ Moore has about a little bit over 100 more yards, 398 to 294. His average per reception is a little bit more than Keenan Allen, 13.3 to 10.5, and he's got 3 touchdowns to 1 right now. So I would say, yeah, because I like the Jalen Hurts thing was not a question for me to trade that for Justin Herbert. So I'm okay with that. I just had to look more into the DJ Moore. So our answer to you, so from the both of us, just so we could send this to you. So from both of us, if you get Hurts and more, we are good. We're good with your trade. So we're good with that. Mike, Sunday Night Football, Buffalo at Kansas City, could be a precursor, could be a foreshadowing of the AFC Championship game. What do you got?
Well, you look at this game, and the total's way high on the Vegas guys' side, and I know, it's going to be a shootout, basically, so I'm excited to watch this game. I'm excited for fantasy players to round out their Sunday with this game. I got the quarterbacks ranked 1 and 2. Josh Allen, number 1 quarterback this week. Pat Mahomes, number 2, right behind him. And then I got Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 23, and then I have to go down a little bit further because Moss and Singletary are kind of cannibalizing each other. I got Moss at 27, and I got Singletary at 39. Looking at the wide receivers, Tyreek Hill always in the top 5. Mr. Speed Demon doing backflips in the end zone, 3 touchdowns last week. Number 2 on the rankings this week. Stephon Diggs, number 8 on the rankings this week. And then there's a little bit of a drop off after that. So it's like getting that excellent meal, but the vegetables weren't quite as good as you expected. McCole Hardman at number 53 is the next ranked guy in this game. Looking at the tight ends, Travis Kelce, even though by Kelce's standards he's having a disappointing season, he's still number 1, and he's number 1 this week on the rankings. And Dawson Knox isn't a bad guy to have. He's at 13. Basically, you already know this, but if you have somebody from the Chiefs or somebody on the Bills on your roster, you're probably starting them. I'm going to go with Kansas City at home.
Kansas City for Mr. Sofka in this one, as 2 strong teams play up against each other. Josh Allen worth the play in this matchup. Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, I still think they're flex guys for you because you don't know which one's going to do it. So I would say Singletary and Moss. I pick Moss a little bit over Singletary right now as a running back 3, probably a flex for you. Stephon Diggs, obviously you got to play him. Emmanuel Sanders, I would say, is a flex guy. And then looking at Gabriel Davis, I still think Gabriel Davis is the number 2. So he didn't have much in the blowout victory 40-0 over the Texans, but Gabriel Davis I still think is worth a flex for you with Emmanuel Sanders. Dawson Knox is worth the play. This man has shown me a lot to start to make me think, should I be a believer in this? Because I've been believing some of the stuff he's been doing so far. Pat Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, all worth the play for you on the other side of it. Mike is going to go with the Chiefs. I'm going to go with them Bills. I think the Bills' defense is better than the Chiefs' defense, and there's guys in each part of that defense that I had the opportunity of interviewing. Levi Wallace out of Alabama, Matt Milano out of Boston College, and right up front we have my man Big Ed from the Houston Cougars. So I'm going to have to side with the Bills on the road in this game. They met each other before. This time around, I think the Bills got enough. So I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills in this matchup to win on Sunday Night Football. Indianapolis at Baltimore. The fight of the Indianapolis Colts and the Baltimore Ravens, and if you go back in history, the Colts used to be from Baltimore. So this is the new Colts versus the Baltimore that used to be the host city, but the Baltimore Ravens are the old Browns. A lot of confusion, but had to tell you. So that's where we are. Indy at Baltimore. Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, this is going to be a great game. You know, I wish I could have Lamar Jackson for every one of my spots on my roster because he can run. I bet if he went out for a pass, he could catch the ball. I mean, this is a guy who gets it done as a rusher. They have the number one rushing offense in the league, and they're unlike their six-string running back, so it's just ridiculous. It's not all the blocking either. It's Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, number 3 on my rankings this week. Then you go to the other side. You go to Carson Wentz playing on 2 busted ankles. He wasn't very good when he had 2 good ankles. He's number 27 on the rankings this week, going to Baltimore. And then Jonathan Taylor leads that ground attack for the Colts. Number 17 on the rankings this week. Nyheim Hines, number 33. And like I said before, for Baltimore, well, not so much. Tyson Williams was a healthy scratch last week. They brought up Le'Veon Bell. Latavius Murray's the best option there. That's the guy you're going to see get the most touches, the most work, the most goal line opportunity. Latavius Murray, number 30 on the rankings. And looking at the receiver spot, we talked about Hollywood Brown briefly before. He's in the 20s here, the high 20s. And then on the other side of the ball, I don't know if I could start anybody. I don't know if I can start a Pittman. I don't know if I'm confident in anybody on the Colts right now receiving the ball. I have to go to the tight end position. Mark Andrews, always a top 5 tight end. And in Indianapolis, again, it's sort of spread out a little bit. Maybe a Mo Alley Cox will get a touchdown and 40 yards or so. He's number 26 on the rankings. And I'm going to go with Baltimore at home in a blowout.
Yeah, I got to go with the Ravens in this game. I haven't been sold on the Colts all season when Carson Wentz stepped in and was injured again. So I'm happy that he's on the field. I'm not happy at the state he's in, and I hope he only gets better. Jonathan Taylor is worth the play. Michael Pittman is a wide receiver 4. That's all I have to say about the Colts to make it very easy for all of us here playing the home game. And then for the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, yes, worth the play. And Tyson Williams has now been moved backward here as we have Latavius Murray, an Onondaga County native, which is where I am a native of as well in central New York, so good stuff here. So Latavius Murray now the starter here. How well this worked. That allegedly they asked Latavius to take less money, and he said no behind Alvin Kamara, so they let him go with New Orleans, and then he gets ousted by Tony Jones Jr., is a free agent looking for a job. Baltimore loses about 115 running backs, and now Latavius Murray is the starter, and he has a touchdown, and he's playing in an explosive, running, high-powered offense on a 3-1 team. Shout out to you, Latavius. I'm hoping that good things come to good people. Latavius Murray, worth a play for you here in this as one of your 3 running backs. Lamar Jackson as well. Hollywood Brown, I would say, is a wide receiver 3 in this, and a low-end 2, high-end 3, and Mark Andrews is worth the play. I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens at home. Any final word, Mr. Sofka, as we get set here to move forward? And a thank you to everybody that's questions come in. I also put a poll out, do you like to make trades in fantasy football? And 100% coming back say yes. I always say if it's the right one. Any final words, Mr. Sofka?
Yeah, that's the one thing I would caution people on. I mean, yes, you want to make some moves, especially if you started out of the box slow. If you're not doing so well this year, even if you felt you drafted well, oh my gosh, I got to trade, make something happen. That's true to a certain extent. But, you know, you can't rob Peter to pay Paul. You can't go from the frying and into the fire. So just be careful with those things. And as always, you can send us your questions during the broadcast. You can always send those to us on YouTube. Our videos on YouTube. How about the Facebook group, Winning Fantasy Football? That's a great way to post those questions. You'll get direct answers right back from us. So hope everybody has an exciting fantasy week. Looks like some great games and a lot of points are going to be scored.
Yeah, looking forward to a lot of excitement, Mike. And as always, thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you, Dan. Look forward to talking with you next time.
All right, take care. That coming from Mr. Mike Sofka here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Want to give a special thanks to each and every single one of you for listening and watching. We've given you all the games, and you can tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time inside these Cafe Kubal Studios, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 208 North Townsend Street, 401 South Salina Street are all of your Syracuse locations for Cafe Kubal, as well as the fact that you can find them on 343 Fayette Street in in Manlius, New York, and of course you can find them inside of Galisanos Children's Hospital, and we thank them for all they're doing for our kids and our families in downtown Syracuse, and at the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in their first ever drive-through location right there at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse. So check them out there. You're listening and watching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage, on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, and on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and facebook.com/livenowdt. And after that, you could search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in our archives on YouTube, as well as MixLR, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Podbean, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. All you have to do is look up Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. A proud thanks to all of our amazing partners in the community. We thank you so much for all that you do. Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Lemoyne College Dolphins, Pizza Man, Progressive Dental, Chick-fil-A Cicero, and Chick-fil-A Clay, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, where you can order nationwide on any one of the 50 states. Go to maandpazpopcorn.com and use my personal code DT20. That's DT20, and you can get your popcorn ready with 20% off from maandpazpopcorn.com. That will ship to any one of the 50 states. Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Millhouse Market, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, PB&J's Lunchbox, Honda City of Liverpool, Mother's Cupboard, and Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. A big shout out to the Lemoyne Dolphins. Every Wednesday is Dolphin Time at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Fins up as you listen every first and third Wednesday to AD and DT. Like today, you can go back and watch immediately Episode 3 as well as Episode 1 and 2 of AD and DT on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. And, of course, the Dolphin Dive comes up every second and fourth Wednesday of the month. And we got a new one coming up for you this coming Wednesday, October 13th. And that'll be coming up at 9 a.m. Eastern Time during Dolphin Time as well. And a big shout out to our Pacer Pride, my alma mater of Marywood University, and all the Pacers are doing and everything that they're doing here as they've officially joined us in a multimedia marketing partnership with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, as well as Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. It's the first ever in the history of Marywood University, and the Pacers are here with us every single month. You can go back and watch our inaugural episode of Pacer Pride, featuring the Executive Director of Athletics from Marywood, Pat Murphy, on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. With all that being said, find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. I want to thank you all for being a part of the show, and thank you for everybody, however you've connected with us, as well as on social media and on wakeupcalldt.com. Have a fantastic day. Continue to connect with us. If we didn't get to your question, well, we got to all of the ones I'm seeing right now, but if you have any other thoughts, send them off to us, youtube.com.